Hello! Today I'm going to be taking a look at this set of Derwent XL Graphite Blocks. There are 6 of them in here, and I've also done a video on the XL Charcoal Blocks, which you can check out at the end of this video. I'll link it. So today I thought I'd better do the other ones, which is the graphite, and so let's get into it. It's still in the plastic, so it's brand new, and I'll have to cut it open. Look how big those are. So we have 6 blocks of graphite, and if I lift them up, so we have olive green, dark Prussian, I think that says, dark Prussian blue, raw umber, not a clue what that one is, it's not even there. There's a soft graphite and a very soft. So I guess my first thing will be to swatch them out and see what the colours look like. These are water-soluble graphites, so this should be quite interesting to paint them out with water too. So as I said, you can use them wet or dry. So I've just drawn up a little chart here. I will draw the graphites out just in their dry form, and then I will draw them again over here and wet them out with water, and also paint directly from the blocks onto the paper. So this is just a cheapy watercolour paper, but it will do for this, I'm sure. So, like the charcoal sticks, they are quite messy and they've managed to get all over my fingers. Not quite as much comes off of these as the charcoal, but it's still pretty close. They're also quite crumbly on this textured paper. I wonder if I can smudge them a little bit with my fingers. Yes, they do smudge. So maybe I'll just smudge them all out so we can hopefully see the colour a bit more. That dark Prussian's really lovely. Oh dear, what a mess. I think I'm getting all of the other colours on as well. Next I'll wet these out and see how they go with a bit of water added to them. Oh yes, they do dilute out quite easily, and it looks like most of the graphite will come off the paper, which is nice. So they're quite a lot like the Graphite tints, possibly same sort of formula, or even the Derwent ink tints blocks. They remind me of those, but as you see here, these are a lot more muted and nowhere near as vibrant as the ink tints. The colours do get quite pale once you start adding water, but I'm just going to do one more test and take it directly from the block to hopefully get a darker colour. I'm just flipping them so I don't take off the writing, because I did that on the charcoals. So if I put the paintbrush on here and just lift this paint, I want to see if I can get a darker, more concentrated colour. And sure enough I can, so that is much brighter, isn't it? That's a really pretty colour. I think in the Graphite tint set, that's meadow green, if I'm not mistaken, but it's one of my favourites in the Graphite tint line as well. Yes, and once you add more water, it lifts really easily, so you have to be careful there. They're not like the ink tints, which once they're dry, they set permanently. Let's try this really lovely dark Prussian. That's beautiful. I really love that colour. That's so gorgeous. I think this blue is one of the favourites for many people that I've seen use these blocks. It is a beautiful colour. I love it. So it looks like all of them, except maybe for that raw umber, do get quite dark when you paint them directly from the block. But when you draw them on first and then paint them, they do go fairly light. I am liking that very soft graphite. That's a great dark colour. The burnt umber, I think, is really nice, and I like these two. Perhaps the graphite soft and the raw umber are maybe not quite as exciting for me, but I think it's quite a nice set. I just have no idea what I'm going to do with this. It feels very landscapey with the colours, like you've got some rolling hills, blue skies maybe, and some trees or earth. I don't know. I think I need to come up with an artwork. I do have something in mind. I need to go and look through my pictures just to get some more inspiration. And I thought of one last test. Will the graphite actually erase like normal pencil? Yeah, it looks like it rubs out fairly well. There's a bit of staining on the paper. That could also be this watercolor paper kind of grabs everything, so I'm probably going to use a different paper for my final artwork. Well, I've set myself up with a picture on my iPad. This is a photograph I took in New Zealand. It's of Mount Ruapehu. This is what I'm going to be using as my main picture today. At least that's what the colours were making me think of this picture. I have this large block of A3 watercolour paper. It is 100% cotton by Montmart, and I really want to get some more of this paper because it is excellent. I think they may have changed their packaging though, so I need to shop around for this. Today I'm just going to do one big drawing on this paper. It feels like it needs to be a large drawing, or should I say extra large drawing, because I'm using XL Graphite Blocks. So let's get into it. Hopefully I can come up with something good. I started off by sketching loosely with the lighter of the two graphite blocks, just getting in the general outline and shape of the mountain, then adding in some of the sky and foreground with the blue, mixing it in with the green to make a slightly darker green, and then going in with some of the other colours for that foreground. It's really easy to cover large areas with these blocks, especially if you lay them on their side and use the whole block to colour in. That works pretty well. I actually quite liked just the dry sketch, and then of course I had to go and add water to it, and this is where things went downhill a little bit. I struggled to lift all of the graphite off the paper, so there was marks on there. And that's okay for the mountains, but I really didn't want to have a textured sky. So using the graphite straight onto the paper wasn't the best idea in this case. I think I'd want to try a smoother hot press paper for this particular technique. But anyway, I just kept going because I'm here now and I need to wet this paper out so I can blend the colours in. You could see that there is some texture left on there, but once it had fully dried, I could then go over it painting directly from the blocks this time, using it more like a watercolour paint, and this technique was much better for this particular paper. I also started out fairly lightly and worked up the layers to darker levels. So if I make any little mistakes, they tend to get covered up later in the painting. Mount Ruapehu was my favourite part of the painting, the background and foreground not so much, but the mountain itself turned out pretty well, I think. I wasn't trying to paint it exactly the same as the picture, just close enough to actually be able to identify the shape of the mountain. I forgot to mention it in my travel blog because I'd forgotten about it, but Mount Ruapehu was also in the Hobbit movies. It is the Lonely Mountain, or Mount Erebor. Small bit of trivia there. So I'm not gonna lie, I kind of struggled with this entire painting, mainly because the sky was not working quite as well as I wanted it to, although it did start to look a bit better after I'd added a few more layers. I'm trying to get a cloud effect into the sky and a little bit on the mountain, especially on that right hand side. I also wanted to leave some white areas for the snow-covered parts at the top of Mount Ruapehu. But really it was the foreground that was the most bothersome. Because it is a desert-like area, it did not have any distinguishing features, and I think I had just too much foreground. The other issue I was having is when the graphite dries, it looks a lot duller than what it is when it's wet. So that reddish part, which is nice and vibrant there, just dulls right down. And right now, dull muted colours are just not helping me because I'm actually feeling quite down myself. It's that time of year where winter has set in. It's very cold, wet, miserable. It has been dreary for weeks on end, and I've just got a bit of seasonal depression, I think. I was feeling quite low painting this, and the dull colours just weren't helping, so I was kind of wishing I'd picked a different medium, something that I could have added some bright colours to. It's not the fault of the graphite blocks themselves. They're a really good product. I just wasn't feeling it at all, and I really struggled through this entire artwork. You could just see how flat and miserable the foreground is. And so a bit later in the day, I just decided to go for broke and just slap the colours on, using a bit more of the paintbrush to add in brush strokes and liven it up a bit, give it more of a texture in the front, and I think this did help. But just overall, yeah, not feeling this particular painting as much as I would have liked. But hey, I can't win them all, I guess. I like the mountain, just don't like the foreground. But here's a bonus picture. While I was waiting for layers to dry, I thought I would draw something in my sketchbook. I could not think of another picture, so I figured I might as well draw the XL blocks in their tin and turn that into an artwork. I'm just drawing straight with a fine liner pen. Actually, it's a rollerball. But my drawing is a bit wobbly because I couldn't rub it out. Doesn't matter, I just wanted to do a really quick sketch and get these little XL blocks into it. I thought this would be a fun way to kind of swatch them into my book as well. And this is a great tip for when you just can't think of anything to draw, just draw your art supplies. And I am using a waterproof ink here because I will be painting in those colours very soon. Honestly, I had more fun with this one than I did with my serious artwork. And here is my finished painting. I didn't quite get the mountain exactly right, but I think it doesn't look too bad. It's mostly the shape, and I like that I was able to retain some of the white paper to give that snow-covered effect. Not quite the cloud effect I wanted here, but aside from adding white from another product, I figured I would just stick with the graphites today. And I'm a little more happy with the foreground, which is kind of taking over the picture a little bit. I might consider cutting it about there and just taking a whole bunch of it off, but I think I'll just leave it for now, and sometimes I will come back to these things and see it with clearer eyes. But overall, I think once I'd let go of trying to be too precise, that's when the picture started to come alive, and adding in the paint strokes I think just really brings it up a bit. The sky is not super great, but we'll just let that one slide today, I think. One last little thing that I did was this sketch in my sketchbook. I think what's bothering me about them is just with graphite, it goes that kind of dull grey colour and you can't get that really deep black. So I think that's partly what is bothering me about them. And like I said, I was feeling a bit flat and the graphites didn't really help with that. I do like them, but I just don't feel so excited about graphite in general by comparison to perhaps watercolours. I think it is just because of that muted colour thing. I don't mind muted colours sometimes, but if I'm not feeling great myself, I find that they can make me feel a bit more depressed, and so I do generally prefer brighter colours. But overall, the product itself is really good, and if you like this kind of thing, then I think you'll love these. They are really nice quality, and the green and blue are really good too. I think I had more fun with the XL charcoals, to be honest, but I at least was able to make something with these, and I think I'll probably revisit them again, see what else I can come up with. Sometimes on the spot, it's really hard to think of an artwork to do in a video, and I might come up with another idea further down the track. So let me know what you think of these graphites. Would you use them? Let me know in the comments below, and anything else you want to say. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and click that subscribe button. Thank you all so much for watching, I really appreciate it, and I will see you all again really soon in my next video. Take care out there, swatch you later, bye!